Well, good morning and welcome to our winter warmer on a Wednesday. Now we reflect on Sunday's sermon and pick up on a theme. Now on Sunday we were looking at Acts 1:8 and reaching our Jerusalem, how we reach out to Abergavenny, an area, and the church and the place the church and us as Christians within the church play in that. Now to think that through today, I want to read a modern parable, which I believe was written by Chuck Swindoll. You may have heard it before. But by way of introduction to this modern day parable by Chuck Swindoll, let me ask you a question. If you could buy any home, what would it be? If you could buy any home, what would it be? Some of you might want a mansion, some of you might want to live on a mountain, some of you might want a cottage, some of you might want something in the centre of town. For myself, if I could buy any house, I'd love to buy, I don't know if you've seen them, there's one down in Tenby, a converted life house, a converted life-saving station. I think they look amazing. The one down in Tenby is just absolutely phenomenal because you're on top of the sea, got the cliffs behind you, and you can see everything. There's an old lifeboat station in the Mumbles, which there's always debates about what they're going to do with it. They're thinking of perhaps turning it into a pop-up restaurant, but I do look at that and think, wouldn't that be wonderful? You could live on the Mumbles, you could live on the old lifeboat station right next to Verdi's to get an ice cream. It'd be great, apart from the fact that your view would be Port Talbot, but anyway, that's beside the point. But if you buy a lifeboat station and turn it into a house, whilst it's wonderful, it's no longer a lifeboat station. So with that, let's get into this modern day parable called The Parable of Saving Lives by Chuck Swindoll. On a dangerous sea coast notorious for shipwrecks, there was a crude little life-saving station. Actually, it was merely a hut with only one boat, but the few members kept a constant watch over the turbulent sea. With little thought for themselves, they would go out day and night tirelessly searching for those in danger as well as the lost. Many lives were saved by this brave band who faithfully worked as a team in and out of the life-saving station. By and by, it became a famous place. Some of those who had been saved, as well as others along the seacoast, wanted to become associated with this little station. They were willing to give their time, energy and money in support of its objectives. New boats were purchased, new crews were trained. The station, once obscure and crude and virtually insignificant, began to grow. Some of its members were unhappy the hut was so unattractive and poorly equipped. They felt a more comfortable place should be provided. Emergency cots were replaced with lovely furniture. Rough handmade equipment was discarded and sophisticated classy systems were installed. The hut, of course, had to be torn down to make room for the additional equipment, furniture and systems. By the time of its completion, the life-saving station had become a popular gathering place and its objectives had begun to shift. It was now used as a sort of clubhouse, an attractive building for public gathering. Saving lives, feeding the hungry, strengthening the fearful and calming the disturbed rarely occurred. Fewer members were interested in braving the sea on life-saving missions, so they hired professional lifeboat crews to do the work. The original goal of the station wasn't altogether forgotten, however. Life-saving motifs still prevailed in the club's decorations. There were liturgical lifeboat preserved in the room of sweet memories with soft indirect lighting, which helped hide the layer of dust upon the once-used vessel. About this time, a large ship was wrecked off the coast, and the boat crews brought in loads of cold, wet, half-drowned people. They were dirty, some terribly sick and lonely. Others were different from the majority of the club members. The beautiful new club suddenly became messy and cluttered. A special committee saw to it that a shower house was immediately built outside, away from the club, so victims of the shipwreck could be cleaned up before coming inside. At the next meeting, there were strong words and angry feelings, which resulted in a division among the members. Most of the people wanted to stop the club's life-saving activities and all involvements with shipwreck victims. As you'd expect, some still insisted on saving lives. That was their primary objective. Their only reason for existence was ministering to anyone needing help, regardless of their club's beauty or size or decorations. They were voted down and told if they wanted to save the lives of various kinds of people who were shipwrecked in those waters, they'd begin their own life-saving station down the coast. They did. As the years passed, the new station experienced the same old changes. It evolved into another club and yet another life-saving station was begun. History repeated itself, and if you visit that course today, you'll find a large number of exclusive, impressive clubs along the shoreline owned and operated by slick professionals who've lost all involvement with the saving of lives. Shipwrecks still occur in those waters, but now most of the victims are not saved. Every day they drown at sea, and so few others seem to care. So very few. Brothers and sisters, the thought for the day. Are we truly a life-saving station? Are we willing to get into the water to save others? Are we willing for mess to come into our church? Or have we created a little tidy club where we have all our votes and all our cleanliness? I pray that we would be a true life-saving station.